Welcome back to CEEN Caribbean News. It's now time to go in depth. Last week, Haiti was battered by a Category 4 Hurricane Matthew. The storm destroyed the southern peninsula of the country, claimed over 800 lives, and left hundreds of thousands of people homeless. On this edition of In Depth, we take a look at the situation in the crisis-stricken country and the rebuilding efforts with President of the Haitian Jamaican Society, Myrta Desulme. Welcome to In Depth, Ms. Desulme.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What can you share with us about the situation in Haiti at this time following the passage of Hurricane Matthew?
Well, the situation is still dire. There are about 30,000 people who are homeless right now, and who have nothing. They have no food to eat, and also many of the crops have been destroyed. And not only that, but the salt water from the sea has destroyed the marshland. So there is a great fear that famine will declare itself further down the road. Most houses have been destroyed in the southern part of the country. Trees have been uprooted. Roads are blocked with utility poles and trees. So even accessing that part of the country is difficult. There's some headway has been made lately, but for the past few days, people couldn't even get down to that part because of the fact that a major bridge collapsed. And so it cut off. The southern part of the country was the one that was most affected by the storm, because the eye of the hurricane hit the southwestern peninsula at 5 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. And flooded entire town. And roads were destroyed. I mean, when you see those images, it's unbelievable that water could wreak such havoc. It looked like an earthquake had taken place because the roads were like broken in two. You know, the pictures that you see when an earthquake has taken place and the roads are broken, literally broken, split with big, gulfs between the two parts, and bridges collapsing and everything. So the entire south was cut off from the rest of the country. Plus, when the telephone poles and electrical poles have gone down, there's no communication in terms of telephone. And when there's no electricity, you can't even charge your cell phone. So there was no communication, so everything, and people were in the dark. It was a very traumatic situation. I hear of people running in the streets in the blackout, after the storm, wondering what happened, wondering what hit them, if it was the end of the world.
Wow.
And just like what happened after the earthquake.
Yes.
Because it was such an unbelievable experience. People, if the houses were not destroyed, then they lost their roofs.
And we actually are looking at we were actually just looking at some of the images. It's really indeed a dire situation. Has the count gone up in terms of the amount of persons who have died?
Well, the foreign media has been saying that 1,000 people have died. I mean, that's the latest figure I heard from the international media. But the Haitian government itself is sticking to a figure of 338. But on the other hand, the government has not been able to access all parts because some parts, are still closed off. And so I don't think that they've really done a comprehensive assessment. Plus, people have started to bury their dead, and some people are washed away at sea.
Wow.
So I don't think that, we'll ever really know how many people died. Sometimes the press
Continue.
likes to be a little sensationalistic. So the numbers get very dramatic. But I would say, on the one hand, I don't know. I mean, I don't think the 338 that the government has officially declared is realistic either. Because, as I said, they have not completed their assessment because many places are still inaccessible.
Okay. All right, so reports are saying that a convoy carrying food, water, and medication was attacked by gunmen in a remote valley where there had been a mudslide, is this indicative of a bad situation getting worse? Because you've already painted a picture that, unfortunately, it's, you know, it's a very grim-looking situation indeed at this time.
It's probably a situation of people getting desperate, and convoys are going through with goods or water or food to another town, and maybe not stopping for them. You understand?
Yes.
So then, because I think that's probably what happened, that the people wanted the water and the food and whatever it is that was being transported, and, you know, might have attacked the convoy. Not so much gunmen as in a kind of, you know, criminal setup, but something more of a desperation, you know, for provision. Because people really have nothing. Nothing. Wow. They've lost everything.
And Haiti really never managed to recover from, you know, the major earthquake which struck the country in 2010. At the same time, we you know, so it really is just making a bad situation worse. But at the same time, we understand that, we know that you have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. So is this violent factor then a deterrent to further growth after 6 years, coupled with, you know, the natural disasters that's happening?
You know, it's a myth that Haiti has one of the highest rates of violence in the world. Jamaica is much, much higher on the homicide rating than Haiti. Haiti actually doesn't have much violence, but it's portrayed as such.
Oh, so you're saying it's portrayed as such and not necessarily a violent.
No.
But what about the guns for drugs trade, which we do know that a lot of that, unfortunately, comes from Haiti in terms of the guns coming into places like Jamaica?
Okay, what happened is that in 1995, President Aristide demobilized the army, but he failed to disarm the ex-soldiers.
Okay.
And so that is the reason why many guns were out there on the streets in Haiti, which were not under control. Okay. And of course, there are pockets of violence, you know, in the inner cities and in certain slums. You know, like everywhere else, you know, in every country you have ghettos. But I wouldn't say that that Haiti is one of the highest, you know, most violent countries in the world. It is really an image that is portrayed on Haiti because of the fact, I mean, Haiti is actually the only country in the world to have a UN occupation force that is not at war.
Okay.
So in order to justify this occupation, then they try to portray Haiti as a violent country, claiming that they're coming to bring civilization. When in fact they have brought no civilization. All they have brought is cholera, which has killed 10,000 people and infected another million. And it took them 6 years to even admit, let alone issue an apology.
Yes.
Right?
But so, Mr. Zulma, you raise a very interesting point. Because is it that, for example, in the case of Matthew occurring, what about the aid coming into Haiti? Do you think that that will be evenly distributed to the persons who are the most affected, or will another case of corruption take place?
Well, the government, the reason why the government is being so strict with everything it does, including the death toll figures, is because it is trying to prevent repeating the mistakes that occurred in 2010 after the earthquake. In 2010, the government was very affected because Port-au-Prince, the capital, was struck by the earthquake. And most of the ministries were destroyed. Many ministers and government people died. The National Palace itself was destroyed. So the government was weakened and therefore was not able to take control of the reconstruction. So hundreds of NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations, swarmed into the country, and it was chaos. You know, it was a free-for-all. Everybody was doing their own thing. There was no central coordination because the government was not able to get a handle on things. And so that is why we hear that billions of dollars were collected, and there's nothing to show for it. Up to now, there's about 50,000 people still living in tents 6 years after the earthquake. The Red Cross, right, collected billions of dollars, and I would urge anyone who is donating to Haiti not to donate to the Red Cross, because the Red Cross is one of those organizations that uses, 80% of the funds that they receive for their overhead and give maybe 20% to the cause.
Wow, that's a very interesting point that you're making there. So what about the Haitian Jamaican Society, though? Are you coordinating any efforts to provide assistance? Where you mentioned persons not giving to the Red Cross, so what are some of the other places should persons give to? As you mentioned, the Haitian Jamaican Society as well.
Well, Food for the Poor is an organization that gives 95% of everything they collect to the cause, right? The ODPEM they have a bank. So the Food for the Poor has opened a bank account. ODPEM has opened a bank account at NCB, both of them, I believe. And they're also collecting goods if people want to send. But they're only taking water, tarpaulins, and dried goods, like non-perishable food. The Haiti Jamaica Society also has an account open at the First Global Bank.
Yes.
Our account, if you want the number.
Yes, you could just give that on air.
It's 990-828-651-804. That's 990-828-651-804. And that's the Haiti Jamaica Society account. That's the name of the account at the First Global Bank in Manor Park.
Okay.
We are trying to identify a warehouse. Unfortunately, we haven't set up a warehouse yet that I can give you the address, because we want to be able to accommodate people who want to donate other things besides the 3 items that Food for the Poor and ODPEM are accepting.
Okay.
So I will, maybe I can contact you at a later date and give you that information.
Indeed you can, and we also have that account number. We have to wrap, but just one more question. Are you confident that after such a major disaster, compounding one from 6 years ago, that Haiti will be, able to bounce back? Is that something that you think is possible?
Yes, it is. I think what we need to do, the new government that is coming in has to make it its absolute priority to build up the infrastructure, build up disaster preparedness, to ensure that, because of climate change, we are always going to be at the mercy of these kind of disasters. So therefore, it is important to create the infrastructure to mitigate this kind of destruction, and to go into resiliency implementation, to ensure that they're going to install the kind of shoreline protection to reduce flooding, save lives, just mitigate these recurring catastrophic outcomes. Develop risk assessment in every municipality. Reforestation is going to be very important, because the deforestation is what is responsible for the mudslides and the flooding, which has caused the death of most people. So we have to rebuild the ecosystem, the mangroves, strengthen the building codes, rebuild the environment, and pass very strict laws to be very vigilant about the application of the building codes.
Okay,
so
thank you so much.
Build that better.
Yes. Okay.
Build that better, and I am. And as I said, the government is taking control to ensure that everything goes through the central government, so that there will not be the kind of corruption that happened after the earthquake, where every NGO was doing its own thing and nobody knows where the money went.
Okay, and of course you gave us the number, the account number that persons in Jamaica may contribute to as well. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Dezulme. We wish you all the best in your efforts.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
We were just in discussions with Mertha Dezulme of the Haitian Jamaican Society for an update on the situation in Haiti.